Pull into any Home Depot parking lot in America on a Saturday morning and look at what people drove there to buy a bag of mulch. Half the trucks out there have never carried a load heavier than a cooler and 2 folding chairs. Chrome step rails. A spray and bed liner that has never seen a bag of concrete. A tow package wired to a hitch that has towed nothing. Ever. These are work trucks that have never done a day of work. And the loaded ones, the ones with the leather and the 22-inch wheels, cross $100,000 before tax. So look at the guy getting out of one of them. Estimate what he earns doing what he does for a living. Then try to make the payment fit inside that number. It does not fit. And that gap, the space between what he earns and what he is driving, is not a mystery. It is a business model, and it has a name. Now, let us put real numbers on that gap, because vague suspicion is not proof of anything. The average new pickup truck sold in America today costs $66,980. That is the segment average, not the top of the range. The top of the range is a different conversation entirely. Take the Ford F-150 Raptor R. Fully equipped, it starts at over $116,000. Step up to a heavy-duty Ford F-450 Platinum, and you are looking at $110,000 before a single option has been added. These are not rare unicorns sitting at some specialty dealer 3 states away. These trims exist in real inventory, and real people are financing them every week in every state in the country. So here is the arithmetic the truck was never supposed to survive. The median full-time working man in America earns about $72,500 a year, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. After taxes and payroll deductions, that leaves him somewhere around $58,000 a year, or roughly $4,800 a month, to cover everything. Rent or a mortgage, groceries, insurance, everything a life actually costs before a single truck payment enters the picture. Finance that $100,000 truck the way most people finance one today, and the payment alone can eat close to a third of that entire monthly income. Not a third of what is left over after the bills are paid, a third of the whole paycheck before a single other expense has been covered. That is not a stretch. That is not belt tightening. That is structurally impossible for the income it is supposedly coming out of, which means one of 2 things has to be true. Either the man getting out of that truck earns far more than the median income in this country, or the truck was never actually paid for the way you assume it was. Most of the time, it is the second one, and the mechanism behind that is not complicated once somebody actually walks you through it. It is not a secret. It is not insider knowledge. It is sitting in plain sight. In the loan documents, nobody reads past the monthly payment line. Here is the part the dealership counts on you never asking about. Because if you did, the whole trick would fall apart in front of you. Nobody sells you a $100,000 truck anymore. They sell you a payment, and a payment can be made to look like almost anything if a lender is willing to stretch the number of months far enough. Right now, the average new car loan in America runs 70.4 months. That is just under 6 years to pay off a vehicle that will likely need transmission work long before the loan itself is retired. And that average is being pulled down by shorter loans elsewhere in the market. Nearly 24% of new vehicle loans written last quarter ran 84 months or longer, 7 years. A loan that outlasts plenty of marriages. Stretch a $93,794 loan, which is what remains after a typical $6,200 down payment on our $100,000 truck, out to 84 months at the current average new vehicle interest rate of 6.7%, and the monthly payment drops all the way down to $1,402. Notice exactly what just happened there. The truck did not get any cheaper. The truck did not change at all. The only thing that changed is how long the buyer agreed to keep paying for it. And in exchange for that smaller number on the payment sticker, he agreed to hand over nearly $24,000 in interest alone, stacked on top of the truck's actual price, purely for the privilege of spreading the pain out over more months. The payment got smaller. The truck got more expensive. Both of those sentences are true at exactly the same time. And that contradiction is the entire business model hiding behind the word affordable. There is a second lever working in the same direction, and it gets almost no attention at all. Down payments are shrinking. The average buyer is putting less cash in up front than at almost any point in the last several years, which means more of the truck's actual price is being pushed into that stretched out loan instead of being paid off on day one. A smaller number today, financed for longer, at a rate that has barely moved. Every part of this deal is engineered around the same goal. Make the number on the payment sticker small enough to feel normal, no matter what that requires happening underneath it. It gets worse the second time around because most people do not actually pay off a truck before moving to the next one. They trade it in. Right now, 30.9% of everyone trading in a vehicle toward a new purchase owes more on the old loan than the old vehicle is even worth. That is not a rounding error in the data. That is nearly 1 in 3 buyers walking onto the lot already behind. The average size of that hole, the gap between what is owed and what the trade-in is actually worth, sits at $7,183. That debt does not vanish when the old truck drives off the lot for the last time. It gets rolled directly into the new loan, which means the buyer is now financing a truck that is, on day one, already $7,000 more expensive than the sticker admits before a single mile has been driven in it. Buyers who roll negative equity into a new loan end up paying an average of $932 a month, compared with $773 for a typical buyer with no baggage from the last vehicle. And across the full life of that loan, they pay an average of $16,270 in interest, compared with $9,811 for everyone else. Roughly $6,500 in extra interest generated by nothing except the decision to trade in early instead of paying off first. Here is the detail that should genuinely worry you. This is not happening only to unreliable trucks that lose value fast. Edmunds looked specifically at which vehicles carry the most negative equity, and found trucks and sedans that have historically held their resale value best sitting right near the top of that list. Vehicles that are supposed to be the safe, sensible choice are turning up underwater almost as often as everything else on the road, which tells you something important about what is actually going on here. This was never really a story about which truck a person picks. It is a story about the loan that gets attached to it, and a loan does not care how well the vehicle underneath it holds its value. It only cares whether the payment arrives on time. Now, somewhere in every comment section under a video like this one, somebody brings up the same thing. What about the tax write-off? Business owners do this legally, all the time, and they are not wrong that the write-off exists. They are wrong about what it actually does for them in practice. Meet Darius. Darius runs a small contracting business, and last year he financed a Ford F-450 Platinum through the company, the exact truck we have been running these numbers on. His accountant walked him through Section 179 and bonus depreciation. Because the truck's loaded weight clears 6,000 pounds, he could take a deduction of roughly $32,000 up front under Section 179 and then apply 100% bonus depreciation to almost everything left over. On paper, Darius wrote off nearly the entire $100,000 cost of that truck in year one. It sounds like the truck was practically free. It was not. Every single dollar of that deduction is still a dollar that left Darius's business. It did not evaporate into thin air. It simply left as a truck instead of as salary, or a dividend, or an investment back into the business itself. The write-off reduced what Darius owed the IRS. It did not reduce what the truck actually cost Darius. Then there is the newer, flashier version of the same illusion, the one built for regular personal buyers, not business owners at all. In 2025, a new law allowed anyone to deduct up to $10,000 a year in interest on a new, American-assembled vehicle loan, even if they take the standard deduction and never itemize a thing. $10,000 sounds like real relief. Here is what it actually is. On our exact loan, $93,794 at 6.7%. The first year of interest comes to $5,954. A deduction is not a refund check. It only saves a person their tax rate applied against that amount. At a typical 24% bracket, that $5,954 in deductible interest becomes $1,429 back at tax time. Run the numbers all the way through, and this buyer paid $5,954 in real interest in year one alone in order to get back $1,429 in tax savings. 24 cents back for every dollar actually spent. The headline said $10,000. The buyer's actual pocket saw a small fraction of that, because a deduction was never a check made out to him. It was always just a slightly smaller version of the same bill, and this particular buyer actually qualifies for every dollar of it. The deduction phases out once a single filer's income climbs past $100,000 a year. Our median earner, sitting around $72,500, is comfortably underneath that line. This law was not written with a rare, wealthy exception in mind. It was written for exactly the person standing in that parking lot, and it still only hands back 24 cents on the dollar. Everything up to this point has been about people who are, technically, keeping up. Stretched thin, upside down, quietly losing money on a tax break that was never as generous as it sounded, but still keeping up. Now for the part of this that is not a clever math trick. It is a genuine warning. As of January of this year, 6.9% of subprime auto borrowers, meaning people with weaker credit, were 60 days or more behind on their car payment. According to Fitch Ratings, that is the highest rate recorded in 32 years, dating all the way back to 1994. Not since before most of this audience was even born has this many people fallen this far behind on a car loan at once. The result of that is not abstract or theoretical. Vehicle repossessions hit 1.73 million last year, the most since 2009, the year the entire country was still climbing out of a financial crisis that started in part with people financing things they could not actually afford. This is where the truck stops being a punchline and starts being a genuine risk to somebody's actual life. Missing that payment does not just cost a vehicle. For a lot of these buyers, that same truck is also how they get to the job that pays for everything else they own. Lose the truck, and the job the truck depends on can go with it soon after. To be clear about who this is actually happening to, it is not evenly spread across every buyer. Prime borrowers, people with strong credit, are still paying on time at close to the same steady rate they always have. This crisis is concentrated almost entirely among buyers who were already stretched thinnest going in, which is exactly why the earlier arithmetic in this video matters so much. The people financing six-figure trucks on median incomes are not a separate group from the people showing up in these delinquency numbers. In a lot of cases, they are the same people, just a few missed paychecks apart. None of that shows up in the commercial. None of it shows up on the lot the day the deal gets signed. It shows up 18 months later in a repossession filing, in a credit score that takes years to rebuild, in a family figuring out how to get to work without the vehicle they were sold as a symbol of having made it. There is one more number, and it is the one almost nobody standing in that parking lot ever actually calculates, because calculating it would mean admitting exactly what the truck cost them. Meet Jasmine. 3 years ago, Jasmine could have financed the same $100,000 truck everyone else on her crew was driving. Instead, she kept the paid-off truck she already owned, put roughly $400 a month toward its insurance, fuel, and upkeep, and took the rest of what would have been a truck payment, $1,002 a month, and put it into a low-cost index fund instead. Run that forward across the same 84 months, 7 years, the exact length of the loan everyone else on her crew is carrying at a conservative 8% average annual return, and Jasmine's account is sitting at roughly $112,300. Meanwhile, the buyer who financed the truck has paid almost $24,000 in interest alone, on top of the truck's original price. And at the end of those same 7 years, he owns a 7-year-old truck. Jasmine did not do anything complicated to get there. She did not time the market. She did not stumble onto some secret investment nobody else knows about. She simply kept driving what she already had for exactly as long as everyone else was making payments on something newer and let the difference quietly compound in the background. That gap, more than $100,000, is not a rounding error either. It is the actual price of the badge, not the sticker price sitting in the window. The real one, paid slowly over years by everyone who never ran this number. Go back to that Home Depot parking lot one more time. This time, do not look at the loaded truck with the 22-inch wheels. Look 2 spots over at the 8-year-old truck with a scratch on the tailgate and mismatched hubcaps. Driven by somebody who clearly did not care what it said about him when he pulled in, that truck is paid off. No payment leaving his account on the 15th of every month. No negative equity waiting to surface at the next trade-in. No delinquency risk hanging over his credit the moment a slow month at work turns into a slower one. Whatever this man earns, every single dollar of it is still his instead of a portion of it belonging every month to a lender he will likely never meet in person. The loaded truck was never really about hauling anything, and by now you already know that because half the trucks in that lot today were only there for a bag of mulch. It was about being seen driving something that announces a number about you before you have said a single word. But a monthly payment is not proof of anything except a monthly payment. It cannot tell anyone what you actually have, it can only tell them what you currently owe. Real wealth was never going to be the thing sitting in the parking lot with the chrome step rails and the badge everyone recognizes. It was always going to be the boring one nobody looks at twice, quietly worth more than the truck that was built entirely to be looked at. One of them was financed to be admired. The other one was simply owned, and ownership does not need an audience to be real. If this saved you from running the math on your own driveway, you already know what to do next. Like it, subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.